This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It is episode number 12. I'm Tom Albano, along with Nick Federa, and happy St. Patrick's weekend, everybody.
Yes, indeed, a happy St. Patrick's Day, whether you're Irish or not Irish, or maybe just pretending to be Irish to get free booze. We're here to entertain you.
Yeah, this is like that day where it's like you don't even have to be Irish to celebrate. It's a thing.
I have a lot of respect for Irish culture, but I just don't like Irish food.
Yeah, I'm not big on Irish food either, but I have a lot of Irish friends, so it's like, good for them. Celebrate.
I don't respect the deep fried candy bar, though.
Nick, it's also not just St. Patrick's weekend. I mean, this has been like, what I like to call these past couple of days have been like, the unofficial holidays. Because it's like you have Pi Day on the 14th. Then on the 15th, you have the Ides of March. Beware, beware.
Everybody always does that.
16th is a personal favorite of mine. Austin 316 Day.
Of course it is. How did I know you were going to say that?
What? It's a thing.
I know you were going to say that, but it's okay. And then after that is St. Patrick's Day.
And in all of this, it always lands on one of these 4 days. The beginning of the March Madness tournament. March Madness is underway.
Yes, indeed, brackets, baby, brackets.
Brackets, baby, brackets. Actually, let me pull up. I have games going on right now. Actually,
yes, we can get live updates.
Yeah,
through TV.
Yeah, I don't think True TV has left my TV since Thursday afternoon.
You can't see, but his eyelids are actually being held open by clothespins.
That's an over-exaggeration, my friend.
We may just have to give him a coffee enema, folks. It's going to be weird.
I mean, I already have some water with me right now, but I mean, March Madness is one of my favorite times. It's like I'm not even that big of a basketball fan, but it's like, it's really cool.
Neither am I. I mean, it's really the only time of year that I really pay attention to college basketball, and it's a hoot. It really is.
For those of you who have been on our Facebook and Twitter page, myself, Nick Morgeson, and Charlie, all from the Undetermined, have put in our brackets right now. Let's see. As of 3:30 p.m. on Friday, I have 1, 2, 3 games predicted incorrectly. Let's see. Well, first of all, I predicted UNC Wilmington was going to upset Virginia. I came close, 76-71, but,
Yeah, there's not a close but no cigar kind of bracket.
Right.
There was.
I mean, and then Baylor beat down on New Mexico State. I thought it looked early on in the first half that New Mexico State could have, pulled off the upset. Then the last quarter of the game, just broke away.
Oh, of course it would be. It would have been New Mexico State. That would have been perfect.
Well, Baylor also has been, from my research and stuff, they haven't been, exactly doing the best. They didn't end the season well. They ended the season very cold.
But still, we're seeing people that we haven't seen in the NCAA tournament for a while. Michigan is still in it as of this recording.
Well, actually, they are. Yeah, as of this recording, they are going to be going on. I mean, they will play on the 19th as they defeated Oklahoma State 92-91. I will take pride in the fact that I have predicted 2 upsets as of right now. I was successful in predicting Xavier defeating Maryland, and I was successful in predicting that Mid-Tennessee was going to beat Minnesota. So I will take pride in that.
Money! Sorry, I'm just yelling unintelligibly.
I would have predicted Vanderbilt over Northwestern. I would have had that, but then there was that very embarrassing final play of the game in which Vanderbilt blew it.
Which is par for the course.
Right, but I mean, it's one of those unpredictable things, but it's like, God damn it. Because when it's something like, what's his name? Matthew Fisher-Davis grabbed Bryant McIntosh on purpose. It was 14 seconds left. They were ahead, and the guy fouled. I don't get that. Why do you foul a guy on purpose? It's like, think.
Especially when you're ahead, you're trying to protect the lead.
Right.
Why would you do that? You're literally saying, oh, here's the game. We don't want it anymore. Please take it.
Right. I mean, and what's funny is I don't think I've seen something more embarrassing, but then I watched the Not Top 10 earlier today, and I guess this was from earlier on in the season because it was like in the worst of the worst category. I was watching it on YouTube. There was this girl, I forget which school she was playing for, but in the middle of the thing, like when they're going up the court, not exactly a fast break because the other team had scored before. So it was just a normal thing. She let the ball next to her on the court to tie her shoe. There wasn't a timeout or anything. So one of the other players, they realized, oh, there's no timeout. So here's this girl. She's trying to tie her shoe. She doesn't have possession of the ball. One of the girls from the other team grabs the ball and scores again.
Great. That's actually kind of funny.
I know, but it's like, you don't see 8th graders doing that mistake. But because this wasn't a freshman. This was a senior player.
Everybody has a brain fart now and then, even on the big stage.
Fair point. But still, it's like...
We even need to mention the Falcons here. I think we did enough talking about that back in February, so I don't think we need to discuss the merits of brain farts when evidence is staring at us right in the face.
Also, we can throw in the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Indians.
Yes, we can. That is exactly the point. But the thing about college basketball, well, everybody keeps saying, well, it's going to be Villanova. It's like...
my prediction is Villanova.
Yeah, so is everybody else's. And if you're not picking them, you're being a contrarian dick. But is it? But then, well, that's what I thought. But is it actually a foregone conclusion that they are going to win everything?
I don't think so. I think you still have a lot of talent, And plus, it's the NCAA March Madness tournament. It thrives on unpredictability. I mean, I remember a couple of weeks ago I mentioned all those facts. Like, it's very rare that all 4 number 1 seeds from each region make it to the Final Four. So you always have to consider the number 2 and number 3s. Like, I'll give you my Final Four. I think in my Final Four, I only have one number 1 seed going in, and that's Villanova.
So who, in your opinion, would be the one most likely to jump up on a trampoline and punch the king in the face?
Well, here's my Final Four. I have 1 number 1 seed in Villanova. I have 2 number 2 seeds. I have Arizona and Louisville. And then I have a number 3 seed. I have UCLA with what's his name? Ball. But I think that's all they're gonna go. I think at most they go Final Four, but then that's it. I don't think they make championship. They're not that good. I think they're not a Villanova or a Louisville.
It could be like you just said. I mean, it thrives on unpredictability. So the only thing we can say for certain is let's see what happens.
I mean, if you want to know the lowest seed I had going the furthest, it was number 6, SMU, in the Sweet 16. But of course, they had to go and lose to UFC because somebody didn't realize where they were on the court and ended up stepping out of bounds. So, to that SMU player, I understand everyone makes mistakes, like we said before, but fuck you. Even though Baylor beat New Mexico State, Baylor ended the season very cold, and I feel like college basketball is one of those things where it's like momentum. It's one of those games where momentum has to play a factor.
So they're on borrowed time, is what you're saying.
Right.
The gas is going to run out.
Right. I think Baylor's gas has run out. I don't think they're going to go far. I feel like, the Elite Eight is where, I'm played very conservative. I have a lot of 1s and 2s in there. But like I said, I only have one number 1 in Villanova going to the Final Four. I think Duke, because I remember you in class, Nick had made a comment like he thinks I'm a Duke guy. And it's like, I kind of like Duke, but I think Duke.
When did I say that? When did I say that?
Like,
I don't remember saying that.
I think in sports writing class.
Did I? Oh, I must have been sleep deprived, folks.
But you were kind of right. I do have a thing for Duke. I like Duke, but I think they play a close game against Villanova, but I think they just fall short. Plus, Duke in the past few years has been upset in earlier rounds. Let's not forget Mercer.
Yeah. Oh God.
And same thing for Gonzaga. It's like they also are kind of a team that, either they pull off upsets or they get upset.
So there's no middle ground.
That's in my personal opinion. I'm not a big college basketball fan, but it's like in, what I've seen. Although I say I'm not a big college basketball follower, but I will support college basketball over the NBA any day.
Oh, we're going to get into that conversation now?
I just find college basketball a lot more fun when it comes to, like, the environment and everything.
Well, coming from a school, as we both do, that has, sports programs that are very well regarded, some of them at least. Right. The record really hasn't shown it.
Or at least mid-major status.
I still have an aversion to college basketball, college sports, because I think it's really a form of indentured servitude.
Oh,
just my opinion.
I know. I get your feeling because the whole athletes employee situation. I don't want to get too in depth into that because that's a whole other podcast in itself.
Yeah, it is. I don't think we have time enough to do that this week, folks.
Yeah, maybe another time when we have some free time.
But the only thing we can say at this point is we don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen.
And that's the beauty of March Madness.
Exactly.
And also one final thing, because we mentioned the NBA, we know there's been things going on in terms of Mr. Oakley and such. Like he attended the Nets next game in Brooklyn stuff, but I honestly refuse to promote that bullshit anymore. I'm not talking about that.
We're done. Unless James Dolan comes down to center court and spontaneously combusts, I am not batting an eyelash.
Like honestly, if this was something like the Knicks did, like the first half in silence thing, I'd be playing the music and everything, but I refuse. I refuse to promote that bullshit anymore.
Nope. Not doing it.
Like at this point,
thank you, ma'am.
Like at this point, I don't care whose fault it was. If it was Oakley or Dolan's, I'm not promoting it. I think they're both nuts. I think this whole situation is petty bullshit. I'm done.
Yeah, I know. Oh God.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. Nick, let's move on to some NFL offseason happenings before we get into our AL Central picks.
But is it happening or is it not happening? Because what did not happen this week is the Jets were chasing after Patriots linebacker Donta Hightower, and they rolled out the red carpet for him. They baked him. I think it was his birthday when he showed up at the facility, and they baked cupcakes. And I think they had flat screen TVs all over the hallways of the facility, wishing him a happy birthday.
Oh, that's sweet.
And after they pull out all that generosity from the depths of Woody Johnson's coal black soul, what happens? He's on Patriots again.
Talk about a kick in the dick.
It is indeed a kick in the dick. It's a kick in the dick and then spin around and kick in the ass. And we're not Jets fans, but I feel for that kind of generosity. Yeah, for throwing yourself at somebody who's like, please.
Like, not so much throwing yourself at somebody, but like that's a really sweet gesture to do something like that, especially for somebody, you know, who wasn't a part of their team officially.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know whether it actually was. Well, they were pitching him, but
Right.
Good decision, bad decision that he went back? I'm thinking it was a good decision.
You're thinking of what?
I'm thinking it was a good decision that he re-signed with the Patriots.
Yeah, I could see it being a good decision. I mean, let's face it, it's Patriots versus the Jets. As much as I despise the Patriots, it's the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Jets fans, though, like this one, I really feel for them.
I do. I honestly do. Because, you know, we've been in this situation with Cliff Lee a couple of years ago when he was a free agent in 2010, I think, and or 2011. And he signed... They rolled out the red carpet for him after almost getting him during the trade deadline in the summer. And, you know, they rolled out the red carpet for him. They did everything they wanted to do. And you were hearing, you know, whispers, oh, his wife doesn't like it here. It's like, or his fans were mistreating his wife during a game, which was true, which I would imagine was probably true. But all of that generosity, and he signs with the Phillies again. So, yeah, we know what it's like to be left at the altar.
Right. Another poor Jets thing, although I don't know about this, if we can say poor Jets or poor Giants. Geno Smith is now a Giant.
He is?
You're just finding out about this now?
He signed?
Geno Smith is apparently going to be a New York Giants next season.
Motherfucker. He actually signed? You're not bullshitting me right now?
Hang on, let me see if I can find the official word. But as of what I knew, that they were at least very interested in him, and I've heard there was an unconfirmed report. Here it is, report. Giants expected to sign Geno Smith.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me.
I guess Nassib isn't enough of a backup quarterback.
Maybe Nassib isn't trained in taking punches to the face. Are you kidding me right now? You know what? Joke's on me.
I mean, I'm trying to think of. He's made one start in the last 2 years. So, I mean, I've seen a couple of my friends talk about this, and they could see some good in Geno Smith. One guy said, though, he's got to adjust his attitude.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, he does have talent there. I mean, we saw it in fits and starts when he was with the Jets, but I just don't see how this makes any sense from any kind of angle. Even in an alternate universe, I don't think it would make sense.
It's definitely a very weird move.
Are they trying to become the Jets? Is it like a single white female? Will they start gradually turning their jerseys green? Maybe you'll see Rex Ryan in a Giants hoodie sitting in the stand at the Meadowlands with a beer in his hand.
Speaking of Rex Ryan reportedly has also signed a deal to be a part of ESPN.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
I know.
I love the guy.
I feel like he's going to... Yeah, he probably will pull some crazy shit on ESPN.
You will see a man drink a beer live on TV.
Probably.
He will just be listening to somebody just rant and rave and just pull out a beer and go, what?
And ESPN probably won't care. They're just happy they got Rex Ryan.
But that's what this offseason has been like, folks. One surprise after another.
Yeah. Reportedly, the JPP is going to re-sign with the Giants. 4 years, $62 million.
Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad at all.
There was a whole thing earlier. Where it was like JPP had reportedly was like, "Oh, I didn't sign anything," but now here come all these reports are saying, "Yeah, you signed." And there was a statement,
which is a good thing,
right? I mean, if something came out of it where it was like, "Uh-oh," there's a whole different disputes and everything. Like he never officially signed. Like, let's not have one of those earlier situations that we talked about with like Hightower happen to us, please.
Yeah, please. God, I don't need that. We already took Geno Smith. I don't need any more jetsiness in my life.
If we lose JPP, it's gonna be like what we said weeks ago. Where actually, one of the things we said when we first started this podcast: 1 step forward, 3 steps back.
Exactly. 3 steps sideways. Actually, backwards. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe these moves that the Giants are making will turn out to be okay to sign Brandon Marshall and Geno Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping faith. Even with the Geno Smith thing, I'm keeping faith.
Yeah, I think maybe backing Eli up, I think they might be able to get something out of him.
Right. And
he could succeed.
And it's March. There's still months to go to the season for him to like work out the kinks and everything.
Yeah, God knows what would happen. Don't assume you know everything about a person.
I won't.
That's a lesson that I learned a lot in sports.
What I say, thank goodness for the Odd Couple. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
That works.
And one last thing quickly before we move on to the AL Central preview and predictions. The Raiders there's little rumblings going on. They're trying to bring Marshawn Lynch out of retirement. Your thoughts?
That is so not going to work.
I don't think it's going to work either.
Because Marshawn Lynch does what Marshawn Lynch wants to do, as Marshawn Lynch has deserved. He can do what he wants. He's fine.
I feel like, he was a Seahawk for life, and once he hung him up, even at the age of, in his early 30s, it's like, because let's keep in mind, he's still, 31?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I think it could be realistic for him to make a comeback, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think the Raiders are going to be that team. I think he was a Seahawk for life, and,
I don't think he would piss all over that.
Right.
I think being a Seahawk meant the world to him, and I really don't think he would want to, do I have to drag myself out of and to do it when I don't want to do it, when I proved everything I wanted to prove in my professional career?
Right. Plus, he retired happy. He retired a Super Bowl champion. Why, ruin that?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like if Strahan decided to come back a couple of years after he left the Giants.
I mean, we've had enough. We've had enough with all of Favre's retirements and then unretirements.
Yeah, we don't need. I think his legacy is secure enough where he doesn't have to go. He doesn't have to go back.
Right. I think that's fine. I mean, what's it called? Like I said, Marshawn Lynch retires, a one-time Super Bowl champion, actually back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. If he had been given the ball in that last play in the Super Bowl 49, they would have been a two-time champion.
He would have another one in his middle finger, and he would use that middle finger to flip Pete Carroll off.
But, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, Raiders. You're just that team where it's like nothing's going to go your way. You're just like the Jets.
Yeah. They do have a better team, though.
Fair enough. Have a better team. You are listening to the Unspoken Podcast for the Undetermined Podcast Network. Nick, it's time for the AL Central, part number 5 of our saga into the MLB preview.
Yes, indeed it is, the AL Central. And the burning question, the question that is on everyone's lips is this the division that is the Indians to lose?
But thinking long term before we look at anything, like just going off the top of my head, yes. I will say yes. I feel like the Indians are kind of like the Cubs, to the NL the Cubs to the NL Central or the Indians to the AL Central. I really can't think of much viable competition in the AL Central for the Indians other than the Royals.
Yeah, I would probably say the Royals.
Maybe the Tigers, but more so the Royals.
But what's impressive, about the Indians, at least from a standpoint, is that they made it to the World Series with a lot of key injuries in their lineup, which are coming back next year. You got Michael Brantley for a full season.
I think if they didn't have those injuries, they probably could have avoided the 3-1 collapse.
Exactly. There's a good chance that they would have been the World Series champions.
Yeah.
And the fact that they plugged in Encarnacion into that lineup?
I think Encarnacion is probably one of the bigger free agent signings, not just for the Indians, I just mean this whole offseason.
Yeah, and boy, am I glad to see him leave Toronto. We'll get to AL East preview next week.
Yeah, I was also thinking this early in the week. Remember when we talked about how, last week we mentioned how, when we were younger, it was always the Angels in the AL West, and now they're in the basement. When we were younger, the AL Central was always the Minnesota Twins, and now the Minnesota Twins are in the basement.
Yeah, which is a shame because, I kind of like them.
Yeah, Minnesota Twins, they didn't really do too much this offseason as far as I could recall.
Yeah, Carl Pavano and his wonderfully magnificent, sabotage Beastie Boys mustache.
They have some players. That's the thing.
Yeah, Oswaldo Arcia, Byron Buxton. They got talent there.
Right. They have Brian Dozier. Hey, they have J.R. Murphy. Wasn't he a former Yankee?
Yeah, John Ryan Murphy he's now their starting catcher, I think.
I believe so. Let's see who else they got. They have Joe Mauer.
Well, yeah, they still got Joe Mauer. He's not catching anymore. He's DHing and playing first base, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. And of course, Phil Hughes.
He leaves the Yankees, right?
Right.
Then he becomes a competent pitcher.
Right.
Then he becomes a great pitcher.
Right.
Then he sucks.
And he's on the Twins.
And he's on the Twins. I don't get it.
The ups and downs of life.
Yes, thus the wheel of life keeps on a-turning.
We just go in a complete circle.
But the Royals themselves, they took a step back this past season. They definitely did. And do you feel like this was an aberration, or is this their window closing?
You know what's funny? Deja vu. I feel like we talked about this last week.
We did about the
Houston Astros.
Yes.
Are the AL West and the AL Central just twin divisions?
They're mirror images of each other.
They really are. I really can't. It's I see a lot of the AL West and the AL Central, and the more I think about it. And I don't know, man. Let's see. There's still plenty of talent on the Royals. You still have Perez. You still have Eric Hosmer, Moustakas. You still have Lorenzo Cain, Alex Gordon. You still have Danny Duffy on the mound. You still have Joakim Soria on the mound.
But, the rotation's definitely going to take a hit with the unfortunate and tragic passing of Yordano Ventura.
Right. That one hurts emotionally.
And that is a gut punch. It is very, very tragic. Even as a Yankee fan. It was sorry.
Right.
Even as a Yankee fan, it was difficult to hear that news because you don't imagine that these kinds of things can happen, but when they do,
right,
it's a shock.
It's a double loss. It hurts emotionally. It hurts for the Royals. It hurts for the game of the baseball, and then for the Royals, it hurts business wise too because that was
he was a popular player
and a great young pitcher, and they lost that.
So, it remains to be seen whether they'll be able to patch that hole. But I still think they can be competitive.
I still think they can be competitive, too, unlike the Chicago White Sox.
Yes, the big old fire sale. You, too, can own a piece of the stadium. All you have to do is pay in bits of string and petrified goat dung.
Well, Chris Sale, if it wasn't clear from last season, the middle of last season, had enough.
Yes, baseball's surliest little shit has had enough. And he's packed his bags and, gotten traded to the Boston Red Sox.
I guess he's going to try to not cut their jerseys.
Yeah, well, you would improve the jersey by cutting it, but that's a story.
So, yeah, Chris Sale dealt to Boston. We'll deal with them next week. But in exchange, Boston gave up 4 prospects, including one, Yoan Moncada.
Yoan Moncada, the Cuban defector that everybody was hot for a couple of years ago, he is now a part of the White Sox system. And are they saying that he'll start the year with the team? Or
I was actually thinking of asking you that, my friend.
I have no idea.
I was gonna I wasn't gonna say about like starting the year, but I was gonna do over under by over under by June. I mean not June, All-Star break. By the All-Star break, he's on the roster.
No, I would say probably if he's not with the team, he soon will be.
I mean,
in the caliber of pitcher that they gave up with Chris Sale, his warts and all, he's still a hell of a pitcher. And if I was the White Sox GM and the owners, I would want to see that pay dividends and quite quickly. Exactly.
Yeah, but we mentioned Chris Sale. I don't blame Chris Sale for wanting to leave. I mean, the White Sox, I would call them a sinking ship, but I feel like they've already sunk enough.
Yeah, when one of your good players actually retires because he doesn't like the fact that he can't bring his son around the clubhouse, which was a stupid argument to begin with. After all, they should have just let the kid come in.
Another petty shit argument.
They could have had a compromise, but of course no. They had to take that wildfire, and instead of putting it out, they peed on it. And as it turns out, they pee gasoline.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Moncada, I mean, the infield still has some talent in there for the White Sox. Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier, not that bad, but I mean, I feel like it could use, the whole team could use a boost of adrenaline shot in its ass.
Yeah, although you put a tetanus shot in your ass, not the adrenaline shot. I mean, that would be funny, though.
But they need
funny though.
But then they need some fire under their ass. Is what they need then.
Well, but they still got some guys that can hit some dingers on this team. I mean, that's offensive power.
And of course, in the outfield they have Milky.
Oh, Milky, loved him when he was a Yankee, but as soon as he got traded, it just went yeah.
I mean, I watched him when he was a rookie. I watched him in his rookie year of baseball, in the minor leagues.
Especially in 2009, where he always seemed to come up big in clutch situations.
Oh, I wasn't talking about major league. I was also about minor league. He was a Staten Island Yankee.
Yeah, I remember that too. Actually, I remember when he first came up.
I feel like I feel bad for him. I wish the Yankees actually had a spot for him. Oh, of course, they also have David Robertson.
Of course. As soon as he gets his money, he craps the bed. And now they're thinking of trading him, apparently.
Haven't those rumors been going on for a while now? I remember
they have.
Quintana. There were things about him and Quintana leaving.
Who knows at this point?
But see what I mean? The White Sox are just an absolute mess.
You know what? It's not so much of a mess as it is a giant, blaring neon question mark.
Very true. Let's move on to Detroit before we get to the defending AL champs. Brad Ausmus, of course, will remain the manager. They have exercised their 2017 option on him. They signed catcher Alex Avila and second baseman Omar Infante. They avoided arbitration with a lot of people, actually. They avoided arbitration with Castellanos, Romine, Iglesias, Rondon, Wilson, and both Alex and Justin Wilson.
So at this point, So they really didn't do anything that major this offseason other than general upkeep.
Nothing too much, but I mean, like we said, the Tigers, as much as, you know...
They always seem to be around.
Exactly. I mean, come on. When you have the talents of, let's face it, JD Martinez and Miggy, you will be around.
Yeah, you will be around. They're like herpes or a bad penny. They always turn up and keep coming back somehow.
What could probably happen, the only damaging thing that I could see is one of those two, or Verlander or Zimmerman, one of those guys, at least one of them, maybe even a couple, going down with injuries. That could be the worst thing that could happen to them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is kind of like a house of cards situation where you take one out and the entire thing collapses, but
maybe if you take a couple of them out.
Yeah, but like I said, the season hasn't happened yet, so let's not go expecting injuries because it might not happen.
You're right. You're right. I'm just saying, keep that in the back of your mind.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we're going back to the Royals situation. I feel like if the Tigers didn't have the talent that they have, I would say for the Royals, last year would just be a hiccup. But we have a lot of talent in the AL Central. Like I said, it's like a mirror of the AL West because we're going to have a 3-team dogfight for that top spot between the Tigers, the Royals, and our next team, the defending American League champions, the Cleveland Indians, who were one game away from the World Series.
And they pissed it away, as we said before.
Yep.
Not entirely their fault, but, what, like I did, but this goes back to what I said. Yeah.
I still think them and the Cubs produced probably the greatest World Series we have ever seen in a long time.
We've probably the best World Series we've seen in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. So I hope for both teams this is like a surging point. Like they're just going to keep going up now.
Here's hoping.
I mean, yeah, we mentioned before the Indians dealt with a couple of injuries last year that if those injuries didn't happen, or at least one didn't happen, they probably don't blow a 3-1 lead and probably win the World Series.
And if Corey Kluber doesn't play with a drone. Was it him that played with a drone?
Corey Kluber?
It wasn't that long ago, and already I forgot.
Let's see. I want to say it was Corey Kluber. No, that was Trevor Bauer.
Oh, Trevor Bauer! It was Trevor Bauer that played with the drone. So as long as Trevor Bauer does not play with any kind of drones or remote control cars or fiddling around with dynamite in some canyon somewhere, it should be fine.
Yeah, I mean their pitching rotation. I mean that's fine. As long as Andrew Miller isn't blowing things like he blew in the World Baseball Classic.
Andrew Miller can still pitch his balls off, though. Don't you go thinking that something that happens in the World Baseball Classic is going to carry over to the season.
I know. I'm just, USA.
I know, USA. But, it's... I still like Andrew Miller. I happen to love the fact that we have Clint Frazier now.
I mean, I loved No Run CMC.
As short-lived as it was.
Right. It was still a cool thing to have. As we mentioned before, Edwin Encarnacion. Probably one of the bigger signings of this offseason. It happened early on.
And my goodness gracious, the things he might do with that team. I'm glad it won't be in my division.
I'm glad. Our division is tough enough.
Oh, God, and you know what? I don't need the headaches and the agita that he would cause anymore.
Right. But other than that, I mean, Jan Nomes, Jason Kipnis, Lindor, Santana, Chisenhall. I mean, it's still a similar team from last year.
You got yourself an offense, though.
Right.
With him, yeah.
Exactly. So, let's round this out, Nick. What are the standings order? Well, first of all, Twins or White Sox? Who do you have in the basement?
I will go with the Twins in the basement.
You're going to go with the Twins in the basement. Actually, you know what? Let me bring up – I should have brought this up before. Let me bring up the 2016 AL Central standings. Let's see what we got. Last year in the basement was the Twins, 59 and 103.
Not bad, but, you know.
I could actually see that happening again. I mean, like we talked about with the White Sox, as much as, you know, I see a little more talent in the Twins, the White Sox, I think, could have a boost in the ass if they bring up Yoan Moncada sometime early on in the season. And as long as Moncada does well.
Yeah.
As long as he lives up to the hype. That's the key.
If he doesn't, I mean, that's.
If he doesn't, the White Sox might end up in the basement.
So it's really a question of what will happen at the All-Star break that will really determine who will end up in the basement and who will not.
Pretty much. Does one of the two do, not even Moncada, it's like what you said, does somebody do something at the All-Star break or trade deadline? I think that's going to determine it, but I think both teams are regardless 5-4. Ariza, right now I will agree with you. Twins basements for White Sox.
Third place is a little bit difficult.
I think it's like what we said with the AL West. We have our 5-4 who could bounce back between 4 and 5, and then you have a 3-team dogfight.
Well, you do for the top two spots because the Tigers, the Royals, and the Indians are going to be jockeying for position, and the last three spots in that division could conceivably come down to the last 2 months, maybe 90 days of the season.
I was going to say, I think it come down to the last month or so.
It could be.
I think the only way a team, I think I mentioned it before, but I think the only way one of these teams gets, a setback and possibly eliminated from this dogfight is a key player injury. And you never know when those are going to pop up.
The ones that I think are most likely to do so would probably be the Tigers because of, Miggy's age. Well, even though I'm kind of contradicting myself with what I said before.
I was going to say, it's still Miggy.
It's still Miggy. But whether he goes down would be the difference for them, whether they could keep fighting or they would actually end up in third.
Right. But I think I did a prove me right with didn't I do the prove me right with the Astros? We did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did that for one team. I don't think I'm going to do it again. I think the Royals are going to finish third.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I'm going to take the Tigers in third.
Okay, but can we then agree it's still going to be the Cleveland Indians?
Yes, it's going to be the Cleveland Indians winning the division.
Okay. I'm going to say, I'm going to go from 1 to 3. I'm going to go Indians, Tigers, Royals. Although for the second week in a row, I'm not going to pick wild card yet. I still don't think so. I still think you have one more division. We have one more division to go, and it is probably the hardest division to predict, even harder than the West and the Central.
It is the American League East. And that is going to be a shit show, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, you're listening to the Unspoken Podcast for the Undetermined Podcast Network. Before we go, I need to get up on my pedestal. I think I need to talk about something.
Yes, get out your popcorn, folks. It's a hot take incoming.
Hot take incoming. And it's good. You know what's funny? It doesn't even involve something that's going on in any of our leagues.
It does, however, have something to do with one of the most celebrated players in Major League Baseball history, a man by the name of Manny Ramirez. Take it away.
You can tell in my face, like I have the triggered face on right now.
He's you can't see him, but he's scrunching. He's scrunching, he's furrowing his brow, and he is very, very flustered.
So Manny Ramirez is 44 years old, people. Let's keep this in mind. And he signed a contract to Philly over in Japan with the Kochi Fighting Dogs. And Manny Ramirez has not seen... Well, first of all, it depends on what you're talking about in terms of when he's, quote-unquote, seen the field. If you're talking about just Major League action, he hasn't seen it since 2011 when, remember, there was that whole 100-game suspension thing going on. And then he signed multiple minor league deals, but he never actually officially saw a Major League field unless he was... Wasn't he like a player coach with like the Cubs or something?
The Cubs, actually. He was there last year.
Yeah. I mean, player coach, I was like, okay, fine. You know, he's not going to be involved really much. It's going to be more the coach aspect because, let's face it, he's 40s. He's in his 40s. There's no real talent there. He's no Jamie Moyer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although
No
I'm
Jamie
pretty sure
Moore.
Jamie Moore had kind of like a Benjamin Button thing going on.
Jamie Moore. I remember when 2012 when Jamie Moyer became like the oldest player to, what was it, like record a save or something?
I think. I can't remember.
I remember there was like a whole laugh about it. But I mean, it was Jamie Moyer, you know. He's a class act and everything.
But the stipulation here, the amazing thing, the newsworthy thing, you should say, is what the Koji Fighting Dogs included on his contract.
Yeah. That's my biggest... Like, what the fuck? Really? Okay, so here's the thing with Manny's contract. If a couple of you might... Some of you out there might know this story. But those of you who do, like I remember talking to you at the end of Wednesday's class, you knew 2 of the perks. There's actually 4 perks to this contract.
Oh, is that so?
The first perk, which people don't know about, well, might not know about, is Manny Ramirez will get access to a Mercedes and a driver. Now, here's my question. If you get a Mercedes, don't you want to be the one driving it?
He's rich enough where maybe I guess he thought, you know what, I ain't driving no more.
I was going to say, I guess it's either rich or ignorance.
Yeah, but he's driving in Japan, which is on the other side of the road, right?
I don't know about that shit.
I don't know what the driving laws are in Japan. If we have any Japanese fans, please chime in on Facebook or on Twitter and let us know how wrong or right we are. Let us know what that... I don't know.
It's not even about wrong or right. I just don't know.
Yeah, please educate us if we have any Japanese fans.
I remember there were Canadian jokes about that.
Exactly, but you know, they were also... What else were they stipulating in his contract?
Okay, so... what do we do? Let's do the second thing that most people might not know about this. He's going to be granted a hotel suite every time his team goes on the road. But, I mean, you're going to go, oh, he has the money and stuff. But it's like, if your team is not, you know, doing hotel suites and stuff, like, you know, don't put yourself higher than the team is what I'm saying. If you're going to play baseball.
So what's the third thing?
Okay. Third thing, here's the thing that pisses me off. Manny Ramirez, who hasn't played MLB since 2011, who hasn't played any sort of baseball since like 2014, he will have the ability to show up and leave practice whenever the hell he feels like it. Are you fucking kidding me?
Apparently they are not fucking kidding you, Tom.
Are you fucking kidding me? Who the hell do you think you are, Allen Iverson?
Which brings me to my point. I mean, I'll get to it. What's the fourth thing? Then I'll get to my point.
Well, first I got to do my Allen Iverson. We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
And he knows that. He knows that. That's probably why he asked for it in his contract.
Yes, but my thing about that was a very hypocritical statement, he said. Because according to the Japanese articles that were translated, he says he has a passion for the game. If you have a fucking passion for the game, you're supposed to be at practice. You should be practicing. Not being a fucking rich scumbag.
I don't know.
And the last thing is he gets unlimited sushi for the entire season. That one I would call him a jackass out of jealousy.
If I don't like sushi, so I can take it or leave it. It's
I mean, good for him. I mean, I'm not as big of a sushi lover, like I'm not up here, but it's like it's cool.
I have no taste for sushi at all. We should not be eating raw foods like we're fucking Cro-Magnons.
Oh, I don't eat all the sushi. I don't eat it all the time. There's like certain things, like California rolls, I'll eat.
But still, I mean, I understand. This is not unprecedented for a foreign sports organization to roll out the red carpet for a name player, whether retired or couldn't get a job,
right?
To do so.
But let's face it. This is all a publicity stunt.
Who knows? I mean, Stephon Marbury went to China. I'm sure the people then thought it was a publicity stunt that he'd be playing in China, but he ended up becoming a god.
I don't know. I feel like Manny has become too much of a character when it came to MLB.
Could be. I don't know. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because, money's money.
That's where I'm going to disagree with you there. I think Manny Ramirez is an absolute jackass. He's one of the he's a disgrace. And I really I can't. He's going to have a lot to prove to me to prove, that this shit is for real. I can't believe this. He's a jackass. And this contract is honestly horrible.
I understand. Well, I understand why you would get upset about it, but you know what? I now that he's, at least me personally, now that he's not a member of the Red Sox, I don't have to hate him anymore.
Well, it's not. He was a clown, whether he was with the Red Sox or not. Let's face it.
You know what? I can't muster enough to give as much of a shit about Manny Ramirez as much as I used to, because honestly, I don't care. He can do whatever he wants. Nobody's
also, he's just for information, he's number 99 in his jersey. It just says Manny on it. It doesn't have the last name or anything. It's just Manny. So it's
because this is the XFL all of a sudden.
I wasn't thinking the XFL. Oh my god. I wish somebody would do He Hate Me again.
Yeah, they should.
Oh my god. I didn't see that coming. That was good, Nick. Very good.
I know I know my co-host.
Perfect. And that's a perfect way to end episode number 12 of the Unspoken Podcast. Can you believe next week it's going to be episode 13, which means we would have been doing this podcast then for a full quarter of a year.
Oh my goodness. Keep going.
How did it get... Oh, I'm happy about that, but it's just like, how fast did this go? And it's nearly a quarter of a year that we've been doing this. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Unspoken Podcast. I'm part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. Go like us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at the UDUP. And follow the Undetermined, Unknown, and Uncloned, and everybody else with the Undetermined Podcast Network. And go follow all their Twitter pages. Go like all their Facebook pages. We'll keep you up to date on all the March Madness brackets shit.
Yes, keep your eyes open because we will be sportsing all week. We'll be sportsing as long as we can, folks. Next week, it's going to be a barn burner because we got AL East coming up.
Yeah, our final week in our MLB preview journey. Although technically we have a couple of weeks until the season. We'll have one additional week, I guess, to hype up opening day.
Yes, we will indeed, and it's going to be a barn burner, folks.
And... yeah, and then up until around that time, we got madness. We'll keep you up to date on all the madness that's going on. All the brackets falling apart. And we'll be sure to let you know on, who's advancing into what round.
So stay tuned, folks. It's going to be fun.
So, for Nick Federa, I'm Tom Aldano. This is the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. We'll see you for episode 13 next week. Until then, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.